What is up, my pizzas? Cory and Vincent here. This is a new episode of Video Game Bang, and I just realized it is the web show. It's 420, everybody. Hey, you like that, kids?
You just gave me an existential crisis because I was like, holy shit, did I miss work today? Is today Wednesday?
Oh, man, I can't even keep the days straight anymore. Sorry. Go ahead, David.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to... I can't. Hey, everybody. New show. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
I don't know how to follow that. Cory Vincent, everybody.
Hey, it's 420, everybody. What do you guys think, kids? I mean, Easter's tomorrow, man. Easter Bunny's coming.
They did a helicopter egg drop.
What?
Near us.
That seems violent and scary.
It does. I had somewhere to be. Otherwise, I was going to stick around just to see. It's raining eggs.
Helicopter egg drop sounds like the most unfortunate sex position.
Were they? That's horrible. Were they like real eggs? Are they just like dropping eggs? Is it egging everybody's house from above?
The amount of information I have was on the banner I saw.
I don't know what's crazier,
Egg
words jumbled together. Helicopter egg drop, or today I did a Amish ear candle.
Ooh, yeah.
I saw that picture. I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
It's called an Amish ear candle. Another sex position. But this thing, it's like a size of a ruler. You jam it in your ear, and you light the end on fire.
Oh shit!
Why?
I actually have heard of this.
Yeah, because I guess it pulls earwax out of your ear.
No,
I don't know.
What you do? You take a Q-tip.
Did Gwyneth Paltrow tell you this?
Oh snap!
Yikes.
Coming in with the spicy chicken strips, Emmaskies.
I don't like spicy things.
I know, but it was a spicy comment. You have chicken strips, spicy chicken strips. Boom. Curtis is here.
Curtis is here. His voice is not 100% here, but I'm gonna do my best. I couldn't miss this one. We got an interesting conversation.
We have an interesting conversation.
This is Web Talks.
Hashtag Web Talks.
I hijacked the beginning of it, but we were telling. It is obviously 420, and we were talking about like Snoop Dogg memes and stuff, and then Curtis kind of just says out of nowhere, "Yeah, I hung out with Snoop Dogg, but I didn't smoke his weed though." and then he started to tell the story, but I didn't want to hear it.
Yeah,
we have to hear it now. Wait, so how did you end up meeting Snoop Dogg?
Now I gotta take the cork back out of the genie lamp. All right. So I was around the time before the Black Eyed Peas thing. We were managing artists, and we had a few producers and artists that we were managing. Me and Malik.
Okay.
There's Malik, special guest on here sometime.
Yeah.
So we got a call from Snoop Dogg's manager. At the time, his name was something Chung, but he was like, hey, yeah, Snoop wants to buy a beat. You know, y'all gotta come down. So we were like, all right. So we went down, and this was right around the time everybody remember sensual seduction or sexual eruption. I'm gonna take my time. Yeah. When Snoop was doing all. So it was around that time. So we went down, and they were like, hey, Snoop's getting ready to perform at House of Blues. So come down to the rehearsal place. So we drive to some odd place in North Hollywood. It's a rickety old. It looked like an old electronics repair place.
Yeah.
Looks like every shady ass thing in North Hollywood.
Pretty much, more or less. Yeah, exactly. So we approach with caution, and some dude comes out and like takes us through the back door. And even when you walk through, it looks like an old high school with like cobwebs and like chairs upside down on desks. It just looked weird. And then finally we go to the back, and it's like. And it's not nice inside, but it's like a big rehearsal space. Snoop's on the stage with the band, and they actually rehearsing the sexual seduction song. So we're up there, we're talking to one of his other producers. Oh, not Battle Cat. I forget the dude's name. He's from the Dog Pound though, and like I like the Dog Pound, so I see Corrupt in there, I see Daz Dillinger in there. I'm like, oh man. Like, you know, not only do I see Snoop, I see like my other rappers that I like.
So do you have a suitcase with your beats in it? So when you want to buy a beat, you don't just email somebody something. You have to drive to the back of a school and
so remember this
present your beats to him.
I
Alfred David.
I immediately thought of a suitcase with a bunch of headphones in there. And I was like, oh wait, no,
Beats. Yeah, Beats didn't
Different
Beats didn't exist
They
That's
back
the
then.
other end of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was over a decade. This at this point is over a decade.
Long before
ago.
Beats by Dre.
Long before
Yeah.
Beats.
And yeah, like, you know, you
simpler time.
didn't have to, but that's kind of how, you know, that's kind of how, especially back then, it's still how they worked. It was still like handshake type deals, and people wanted to put a name to the face, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Get to know you, and they wanted to hear some more, you know, like, hey, we like this one, y'all got more. We could have emailed them, but we drove down.
Nice.
And we're up in there, and they're doing it, and then finally, Snoop, you know, he's done. He comes off stage, and he's walking up, and, you know, he's Snoop. What up, nephew? You know what I'm saying? I heard y'all had some beats. Heard y'all had some heat. You know, let me hear it. You know, and we're like, all right, cool. We're going to go back to the studio. Snoop be like, yeah. Hey, cuz, you want to hit this? You know, and like, our producer didn't smoke. He's like this straight-laced Christian dude. Like, he didn't do nothing. I don't even know if he drank Pepsi.
Dang.
Me and Leek did smoke at the time, and I knew Leek wanted to do it. But I looked at him like, nah, bro, you know, like, don't do it. And I was trying to be professional. I didn't, you know.
Yeah.
And plus, it's
Yeah,
Snoop's
come-
weed. I'm about to be high out of my mind and sell the beat for $1. You know what I mean? Like, bro, I'm not trying to take no losses. So I'm like, I appreciate it, Uncle Snoop. I'm a pass right now. And I think I broke the deal right there, because Snoop was like, you know, basically in his mind, he's like, oh, this fool ain't gonna smoke my weed. I ain't gonna buy his beat.
So it didn't happen? The deal didn't go down?
I mean, make a long story short, nah. But we got to see Snoop Dogg for
But,
free at the
yeah,
House of
hell
Blues.
yeah.
We didn't expect that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, the lesson here is that if Snoop Dogg offers you weed, just do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Just smoke weed, everybody.
Pretty much. It's initiation.
That's a message for the kids.
Yeah. What do you guys
What do you
think?
think, kids? I still want to know how these kids keep getting in the studio. It's not that big of a studio. We have 3 guard dogs. How are they getting by?
The little birds.
Got to beef up
Little
BGB
words.
security.
All right, so tonight we are doing another web talk, and much like we did with Bang of Thrones, I still feel weird saying that, episode 0, where we talked about where everybody was, what happened throughout the seasons, where we're at now going into the final season. We're going to do that for the MCU going into Endgame this week.
I'm so
because
excited.
Endgame is dropping Thursday night. Have my tickets.
I'm so excited.
I'm so happy. I'm behind on my watch. I got
Today
behind on
was
my watch.
Homecoming.
Today was Homecoming. I
do
stopped
you
to watch
want?
Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, Homecoming.
Okay.
What's the rewatch like compared to Game of Thrones? I assume it'd be like, are just as many connections being made, or is it just like what? I feel like without watching all these, I could still recall enough of it. It doesn't seem like you really need to rewatch it.
It's definitely not something that you need to do. Like Game of Thrones, you need to do this.
Yeah.
But it's just fun to do.
Yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't have like all the intricate political connections that span from like going all the way back to the beginning, and now they're like we're just starting to see the fruits of it. It's like
Yeah.
it's not
It's
quite
not
like
quite
that.
like that. It's just like, oh, cool, this is gonna be neat. I'm watching all of them, and then like I'm gonna end with Endgame. So tonight we're gonna talk about the past 10 years of the MCU.
Golly.
Where it started. We're not going to go too much into where we want it to go in the next phase, just because we already did an episode on that. So this is basically going to be like from past to present, no future.
So 10 years.
10 years.
Fucking hell.
11,
11 years.
How old were you, Emma, when the first one came out?
14. 2008 was Iron Man. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
did you have any clue? Like, what was your interest in that movie? Like, your
I
dad
just
was
liked
pretty
superhero
nerdy,
movies.
right?
Yeah, I liked superhero movies. I was like already into that. I liked the comic book storylines, even though that wasn't really something that we had as far as like pop culturally. So I was really excited for it. I
Yeah.
really liked Iron Man. Went and saw it in theaters. Was very excited for it. And that was one of those things where like you went and saw it, and you're just like, that was a really cool movie. I wish we kind of had more stuff like that.
Did you save the bend?
Little did
Oh,
she
yeah.
know.
Okay. Because so I remember seeing it, and like I grew up watching the cartoon, and like I loved that cartoon. And in the cartoon, he had a briefcase, which is why I think I like Iron Man 2 a lot,
'Cause he has the
had the
briefcase.
briefcase. And I remember like so 2008, I was 19. So like, you know, I wasn't
So
like
old.
a kid necessarily, but I was still like, you know, I was kiddish. But I remember Iron Man 2 and like that scene where they give him the briefcase. Not even when they give him the briefcase, but when you first see it, I'm like, the briefcase suit. They did the briefcase suit. But more importantly, going back, Iron Man 1, when you when you watch it, like, this is awesome, this is so cool, and then like at the very end, like it just so happened to stay to the very end because like I'm gonna wait till everybody gets out of the theater before I try to get out. And you have Nick Fury. I'm like, oh, that's cool. They put Fury in the Avenger. We're gonna do the Avengers.
Yeah, that was like, see, we were in different ages. So, like, when we were 19 and this stuff's happening, Emma's 14. That's a world of difference.
Yeah.
For, like, people. So, and you have people even younger than her.
Oh, yeah.
Like, who were just getting, it was like one of their, this is the first movie my dad took me to. Or, so, like,
Yeah.
these movies are affecting all these generations. And we all have this one thing in common, kind of.
There are
Right.
kids who could go see Endgame who weren't alive when Iron Man came out.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Damn.
And understand it.
Totally.
Yeah, the first time I saw Iron Man was a bootleg version with our social media guy Jake a long time ago.
Yeah.
We were just
Just
visiting.
gonna rat him out.
Yeah, get him.
He's in Fresno. No one wants to go to
Yeah,
Fresno. to
he's
get
in
him.
Fresno.
Yeah,
He's
fine.
I don't think the law exists over there, but
Wild
I went
West.
to his house and it was a little apartment that he had, and it was just
Yeah.
like a little TV sitting on a box, and like he was wanting to entertain his house guests. We were probably his first ones. And he's like, I got this this bootleg of Iron Man movie, and I was like, sick. Okay, let's watch it. And it was people standing up in the middle of it, like it was that level of bootleg.
Oh no.
But like we were both thoroughly like
Yeah.
entertained, and we weren't watching it ironically. Like
Right.
we were just watching it. Just happened to be bootleg.
Yeah.
Good fucking movie.
love
And
that
then
movie.
I paid for every one since.
Yeah.
That's
It's such a good.
It was such a good start. And like I feel like it always gets overlooked what a good villain Obadiah is.
Yeah.
Because I watched it again and I was like, damn, I feel like whenever I talk about MCU villains, like Obadiah gets passed over. But like, damn.
He was a good villain. Yeah.
he's the dude, man.
I like that he even like that he has that line where he calls out, we're ironmongers.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I, like, of course, I didn't fucking know what that meant. I was just like, oh, cool, interesting word.
I remember going. I feel like that's something. What about you, Curtis?
Yeah, man. For me, it was a trip. I remember. Yeah, I'm the oldest one here, so I remember watching like the B movie Captain America, which was terrible.
Terrible. I've seen clips of that.
I'm just
Was the
thinking of,
shield
like-
clear?
The Shield, like at some points, it wasn't even consistently. It wasn't the same consistency. There was a few scenes where it was
Was
clear.
it clear? Yeah.
The
I
way that
remember
you phrase that, I'm just thinking of the Jerry Seinfeld B movie, but he's Captain America.
It is. It was like one of those low budget. It was like I think Canon
What's
Canon
the
Films
deal
had
with
produced it, and they
Yeah.
what's the deal with Canon?
Hydra.
Hydra, okay. And they, so I remember seeing that. I remember the David Hasselhoff Nick Fury movie. I remember watching
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh.
yeah, that terrible thing, and even the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
that one I know.
Yeah.
That one I know.
So I seen those. Obviously, I watched. I grew because my uncle liked the Lou Ferrigno Incredible Hulk, so I grew up watching that, and then I'd even seen the Japanese Spider-Man.
There's a Japanese Spider-Man.
Yikes.
Yeah. It's funny, but so when you watch him as a cartoon and then you see him in the movies, like it's not dope, but you're like, at least I get to see that. So all that, and then I and then Blade came out, and everybody forgets that Blade's not MCU, but Blade was the first Marvel movie
Right.
that
Yeah.
got a
That's
decent budget and
Yeah.
that did really well.
And had sequels.
Yeah, and that blew my mind because I was like, wow, y'all picked Blade to do it? Like, no one knows who Blade is. I never read a Blade comic book. I only saw him on the Spider-Man cartoon.
Yeah, that's where
And
I
he
knew
was
him from.
Yeah, and he was dope. But I was like, wow, they did it and it's successful.
Well, and that's how we got, like, in a way, that's how we got Deadpool.
Yeah.
With him on the set, and he basically was Deadpool. And-
Well, in X-Men he was Deadpool. In
No,
the Blade movie,
in the Blade movie,
he was a
was
loud
Ryan
mouth.
Reynolds.
Yeah,
He was Ryan Reynolds.
yeah, that was kind of I get
Yeah.
what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
it's just his personality.
It's just his personality,
Yeah.
but and then he had swords, and that's what started. Like somebody, like
True.
I saw in an interview where he said, like that's where somebody approached me about possibly doing a Deadpool movie at some point.
Okay,
And
and
it
that
was
makes
like,
sense, yeah. Because he went from that, and then
he
after
did
that
X-Men,
one, then he did X-Men,
which
where he
we can talk
was
about that.
actually
He was
Wade,
Weapon X,
yeah, Wade
but
Wilson.
Ooh, that's one
Imagine,
we...
I just want to. Oh God, we won't get into that because it's like a whole thing.
It's a merc with the mouth, and he has no mouth. Okay.
I want to be a fly on the wall of the conversation in the writers' room where they're gonna take Wade Wilson, and take away his mouth.
Yeah, the most iconic thing about him.
I think it was for the whole scene for what's his name to get the line that said, "Oh, I guess they finally found a way to shut you up, Wade."
That was the whole reason.
That was the whole
payoff.
reason. That was the payoff.
Yeah, for that one line.
So yeah, we started off with really, really strong with Iron Man.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've talked before, like they were taking a chance on RDJ, like it was a whole, we don't know if this is gonna go anywhere, and now it's exploded. So the first phase, so they're all like phases. So phase 1 was Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, which is canon. Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, and the Avengers.
Which up until this rewatch, I didn't realize that the Incredible Hulk was technically. Like, I thought they just adopted it into the MCU because they needed a Hulk, but no, it's Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be, what's his name in the Avengers movie?
Edward Norton,
but he did the actor thing.
Well, I this is one of those, like, you just hear rumors. I heard he's, like, a nightmare to work with.
I could see that.
And, like, nobody wanted him back.
Which
just sucks because I like Edward Norton.
I like
he's one of my favorite actors, actually.
And I heard that and I was like, oh, I hope that's not true.
American History X is one of the most
that movie
moving and disturbing things I've ever seen. And him and Eddie Furlong, incredible performances in that movie.
I saw that movie my senior year in high school in sociology.
Yeah.
And that movie has stuck with me since then. Like, you can't unsee the things in that movie.
Not in that movie.
I think him with he got the trifecta in my heart with that Fight Club and
I've still never seen Fight Club.
Fight Club. That's one of my
favorite.
Top 5 movies
I've had
ever.
it for forever, and it's always one of those, like, one of these days.
And then what was it? Death to Smoochie. I
Death to
really love that movie.
Yo, that's low key. A lot of people don't understand like the quality and the greatness behind that movie. That movie was very layered.
Robin Williams just thrown. Yeah, it was great.
No,
before we get
Italian Job.
That's a good one. But before we get too off topic.
Yeah. We gotta
Off
get back
of
to the
Edward
Avengers.
Norton,
It's
back to
420. We
Marvel.
need to stay on topic.
Back to Bruce Banner.
Yes.
But yeah, so technically that one is canon. There are scenes from it in the Avengers. General Ross obviously carries over. Like it's a whole thing.
Thunderbolt Ross.
But I don't. And like I was bummed about losing Edward Norton. And then I feel like every time, not that I do it much because I only do it really for these rewatches, but every time that I rewatch that movie, I'm like, I don't miss Liv Tyler.
Oh my god,
I hated her in that movie.
Like,
take a breath, woman.
Yeah, why are you always out of breath when you talk? Like, just it's weird.
I liked her in that one where everybody disappears. The one I think you were saying you were watching, Emma.
Leftovers?
Yeah, Leftovers.
Was she in that?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't even remember.
She's
She
in
whisper in that
She's
too?
great in that too.
She whispered.
She doesn't talk. She joins like a cult of people who don't talk. Anyways,
Oh, that's right.
We're getting
yeah.
super deep.
Anyway,
Anyway.
but yeah, so that was phase 1. It all came together. At some point, they decided when they were making the Avengers that they were going to recast as Mark Ruffalo and never address it in any real way, which is, fine. I guess if you're going to do it, that's how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
But like never address the story really. Like Betty never comes back up.
Nope.
Is never addressed in any way.
Nope.
Except we'll talk about her a little bit later.
Well, he saw Nat and he was like, Betty who?
Yeah.
Apparently, because that fucking makes sense.
Doing my rewatch, Thor. I remember seeing Thor for the first time, and Thor was like, I was like, oh wow, this is like really good. But rewatching it, I haven't even gotten to Ragnarok yet. But comparatively, how kind of dull the Thor 1 and 2 were.
They had zero personality.
There was zero personality in it.
What
it
I
was just
loved-
very.
Yeah, what I liked about it was the look of it. Like, I liked Kenneth Branagh as the director for that movie. But yeah like, Thor was like a kind of whatever character.
Yeah. He was an Avenger, so we had to have him. And then,
Like,
yeah.
it was a little bit silly. It was a little bit whatever, but it wasn't, it wasn't Iron Man.
It wasn't
Yeah,
Iron Man.
yeah.
It wasn't like any of the other Marvel movies.
Yeah.
I think
Up until Ragnarok.
Until Ragnarok, he shined more in that Avengers movie than just about anything
Yeah.
he had done before that.
He had, every Avengers movie, he shined a lot better. I mean, he had good one-liners and stuff like that, and then he'd have his own movie, and it was back to, like, stoic Thor.
Yeah.
That's honestly though that's just kind of how Thor is, period. Like even in the comic, Thor is a specific type of character. You either kind of take it or leave it. Like because honestly, Ragnarok. If you like Ragnarok, ain't like none of the Thor comics.
No.
And I love it.
They had
and
to,
I
like,
love
change it, make him likable.
Totally.
Yeah.
And they highlighted Chris Hemsworth's like like, I mean, those are his strengths. People didn't know how funny he was really until, you know, like the Ghostbusters thing and that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they highlighted, but I mean, if you read the comics, I'm not saying Thor doesn't have good stories. There's some Thor comics I love, but that's kind of, it's Norse mythology.
Yeah, it's serious. It's Vikings. It's serious.
Right.
It's
You
not,
You have to go across the Rainbow Bridge.
Happy
You know,
go
my
lucky.
father is Odin. It's
Now,
like very...
I'll be honest with you. I like all the Thor movies.
Yeah.
I like all of them.
Yeah, no, I don't dislike them.
Yeah.
I dislike the Dark World,
But
we'll get there.
We're almost there.
Yeah, I'm aggressively neutral towards them.
Makes sense.
And then for me, Captain America was one that I was the opposite. I watched it in theaters and I didn't love it. I
Captain
was
America?
like, I don't really like this. But now on my rewatches, I fucking love it. Because like it was like too cheesy. I didn't like, you know, it wasn't like campy funny, but it was like campy cheesy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like very
Very
all American boy next
patriotic.
door.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm not about this. This is really like whatever. But the more I watched it, the more I love it. And I just like, oh, Peggy Carter. Peggy deserved better. Her show deserved better.
Yeah, it
Oh,
did.
yeah, she have a
it
show.
did. I watched
would
as
die
much
for
as I
Peggy
could.
Carter.
The first time watching Cap 1, I did like it a lot. I didn't love it, but I did like it a lot. I like the cheesy, good old.
Yeah,
I'm
good
just,
old boy.
I'm just, and that's what Cap was like when I was
Right.
growing. Like we didn't get none of this, you know, Captain Steve Rogers or I'm bucking the government. We didn't get none of that yet, which I like that stuff
No
too.
Nomad.
No, we didn't
Yeah.
get none of that yet. So I was like, you know, okay, I could deal. But you're right. After I watched it again out of the theaters, it felt almost like Three Musketeers kind of style, kind of. I don't know. It felt more swashbuckling when I got out of the
Yeah.
theaters, and then I kind of tended to like it more. It reminded me almost of like the Rocketeer. I don't know if any. Of y'all
Yeah, I
know
remember the
Yeah,
Rocketeer.
It kind of
that's a
reminded me
deep
of.
cut.
Yeah. It gave me that feel for sure.
I liked it, but it was more in the sense of like I was like, okay, cool. Like we're like, okay, now we have everybody
Move on,
together.
yeah.
Avengers is coming up next.
Yeah,
Like, let's
so-
do this.
Yeah,
kind
so
of thing.
phase 1 ends with Avengers, where we have Loki as the visible villain, but obviously working for some entity, which at the time we didn't know. They never really explain, I don't think, that Chitauri leader and like what his deal is with Thanos and everything.
No, we never
But like
know.
he's just kind of there as like the intermediary.
They didn't, because he was supposed to be, essentially he was supposed to be Corvus Glaive, who we got in the
saw
Black
in
Order.
in
I
Infinity
thought
War.
that
Yeah.
this rewatch, I was like, I wonder if that's who he's supposed to be because he kind of looks like him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
absolutely.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was, but they obviously they used him as a prop.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell that even at that time, and I think even just in the interview, they kind of let the cat out the bag that they didn't know Thanos was going to be the big bad yet.
Yeah.
And Joss Whedon or Whedon, however you say his name, he just wanted to put him in there at the end. And then they ended up building towards it. So they never did explain the
okay.
Chitauri leader because it was kind of that was one of the Marvel fumbles.
Yeah,
you
and like
know?
the Chitauri were like the one and done, but they were the intermediary between us and Thanos. And so
Right.
that is where we get our first look at Thanos at the very end of the last credit scene where like he turns, you get that profile of his face. And
Yeah.
that's our first look at Thanos
Yeah.
back in 2011, 2012?
Yeah,
like that?
2012.
So then we get into phase 2, which was Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man.
Man, that was a slump when you look at it on the... I don't know. I feel like if you look at it from a
started
bird's eye view,
slow,
it started really bad.
because it started with Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Oh
which
god,
is-
that movie.
Which we
Yeah, it's
talked
one of my
about
least favorites,
is,
yeah.
and like I feel even more sure of it on my rewatch that I just
Oh,
like,
yeah, because you just rewatched
yeah,
it
like it's
recently.
just a completely throwaway movie.
It
Just
doesn't
when I-
contribute anything
no,
because
absolutely not.
because like the only things it contributes, like you can argue they either retcon or they do it in a different way later on. So we have like all of the suits. Oh well,
he destroys.
that's where they establish the Iron Legion. No, they destroy all of them. He rebuilds it for Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like, oh well, like he
Pepper.
gets his
arc reactor.
his arc reactor removed.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And then they retcon that in Infinity
Put it back
War.
in.
He puts
Yeah.
it back in. Like
Wait. No, he didn't put it back in. It's remember he said it's a housing unit for nanites.
Yeah, but I think it's still part of him.
I
though.
think
like
yeah,
it's
because
not.
she said why did you get that installed again? She
'Cause that's
makes
the
a
whole
comment
point of
about
it.
it being back in here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like the whole point of it is so he's never without the suit. So it's not, as far as I understand, because I was
Okay.
actually talking to somebody else
Yeah.
about this, and I'm like,
Okay.
as far as we can tell, it's not a wearable unit. It's something that's in him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like the same thing. It's just not for his health anymore. It houses the suit.
Yeah.
So yeah, they got his arc reactor out.
Yep.
They put it back in. They gave Pepper Extremis. They took it away 30 seconds later.
Yeah.
They put in the Iron Legion. They destroyed it. Like, and then I was watching it. Like, this movie is a collection of really cool scenes that add up to nothing.
Nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I love the plane rescue scene.
Yeah.
That was
That was
solid.
really cool.
Really good.
With holding all the people as
Yeah.
they're going down. That was dope.
And
We got Iron
there's-
Patriot.
Yeah,
The Iron
Iron
Patriot.
Patriot.
It wasn't the right Iron Patriot,
Yeah.
but we got it.
It was something.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of really cool scenes and a lot of really good directed scenes that add up to nothing.
Yeah.
Disappointing villain.
Yeah, disappoint.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
talk about subverting expectations. That's
Yeah.
another time
That
where
was
it's
like
just
an
like
interesting way for them to go to, because like the Mandarin isn't. It's hard, I think, to do that character
Mm-hmm.
non-offensively.
Yeah. Well,
Because
it's the same thing when we
he's
knew
like
about
a
Doctor
very-
Strange. And we're like,
yeah.
how are they going to do the ancient one without being offensive?
Well, without pissing off China, which was the
Without
whole thing.
pissing off China,
Yeah.
yeah.
'Cause
I mean,
they're not gonna
well,
pass it then.
I don't want to say it would be more offensive, but they took a character named the Mandarin that had nothing to do with Asian culture almost at all,
Yeah.
and then they faked it out.
Yeah.
I think I to me over a misuse of the Mandarin, it was a misuse of Ben Kingsley. I think such a high class level
Yeah.
actor. I think they could have utilized him so much.
And at that point
better.
where like you realize there's not really a great way to do this character either way,
Yeah.
just choose a different one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I don't even do the bait and switch. Like, do something else. It just didn't amount to everything. And the only reason why I made over $1 billion is because it was the first movie after Avengers.
Avengers.
Yeah.
I think that with that bait and switch, it's like when April Fool's comes around, and a company who's kind of lame comes up with something that's awesome, and you're like, oh well, this would be cool if you did it for real instead of like on
Yeah,
April
exactly.
Fools
Instead
and
of
get our
yeah.
expectations up over this stupid bull. Like you gotta go the other way with your okey dokes.
Yeah,
No, like-
right.
Where people walk away more satisfied. Don't take something that's so built up and hype and then turn it into a joke.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been dope to me and if they would have made it look like Aldrich Killian was the villain from the gate because they planted the seed. And then the lady that Tony was working with, I know she ended up working with them, but if she was the villain,
yeah.
that would have been
Yeah.
way dope. And maybe she was the Mandarin. Maybe she was Asian American. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, hey,
There's ways to do it, yeah.
I think I like anything besides what they did do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Iron Man 3 really had no effect on the overall story. So we go.
Hang on. So, if you want to count the entire MCU and include the TV shows in it, Extremis was a huge story arc in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, I didn't watch Agents.
It was.
Huge story arc.
So they drug the worst movie out even further through into the TV show.
well, Extremis wasn't bad, but yeah, it was.
So we went from Iron Man 3 to Thor: The Dark World, which is kind of lauded as one of the worst in the MCU.
We
Yeah.
got Zachary Levi, though.
We did get Zachary Levi. The only good thing that movie gave us was Zachary Levi in the MCU, and then they
Hold on,
killed him
wait.
in
We got
5
Sif
seconds.
too.
She
Lady
was already in
Sif?
it. She was in the first one.
Sith,
Oh,
yeah.
was she?
Oh, she was. Oh, that's right. Not the characters, but the actual actor, Zachary. Yeah, because he took
Yeah.
over for the first Fandral.
Yeah, Federal. Yeah.
Vandral.
Federal. The
Um,
fencing dude.
So yeah, we got Thor: The Dark World, which again was like the only thing we got out of it that really had any meaning was the Reality Stone,
Yeah.
which is not ever explored as the Reality Stone in any way.
Kinda. Yeah, actually, there's a scene where when
Like he talks about the Infinity Stones,
he talks
and
about the
with
Infinity
tree,
Stones, and he talks about how like all of them appear in stone shape except for this one that appears in a liquid state.
I
So
don't remember that.
it's right when so it's after he brings Jane there and like he's like take her away and
They're talking with like the Tree of the World
and
above them.
they're
in that
walking
room.
into where the Tree of the World
Yeah.
is, and he's explaining. He's like, there are artifacts that predate time.
Yeah.
There are 6 main ones. All of them appear as stones except for this one that appears as a liquid and is in her.
Yeah. So like the Reality Stone is the only thing we get out of that movie that means
Yep.
anything, and like you could put that anywhere else.
The Collector too.
Yeah,
Is he? Oh,
Final
he
cut
is. He
scene.
is in the credit scene of
which
that.
is how he gets the reality gem,
Yeah,
which
was
then
from Thor: The Dark World.
doesn't even pay off until Infinity War. And I was just like, wait, okay, so I guess they just left that part out of him getting it. And then during my rewatch, I'm like, oh, now it makes sense. That's why Thanos went to go to nowhere to
Yeah.
get that.
Yep.
I think Guardians is obviously the highlight of that phase, though.
Excuse me,
What else came out?
Winter Soldier.
Guardians was
Easily the highlight of
the
Phase
highlight.
2.
Wait a minute. Are we going to put Guardians versus Winter Soldier?
Winter Soldier.
That half-ass sequel?
Is a better movie.
Whoa!
What are you talking
Whoa!
about?
Okay, let's flip the table on 3.
1,
2,
2,
3.
No! See, I don't know. They are both great movies.
They're
but
both excellent.
They're both very good,
I
but
definitely
Winter
like
Soldier's
Guardians. No. Okay,
I like them both for different
You're entitled to
reasons.
your bad opinions. You know?
I believe that you believe that.
I'm gonna say something probably even more controversial. I don't think Guardians is as good as everybody thinks it is.
All right,
says it
now
was.
everybody flip the table.
I think I'll be honest, and I like Guardians. I like it a lot. I think it's a little overhyped.
I
can see that.
I disagree.
It's a little bit.
I think it's really, really
300,000%.
good, but I think people like completely fell over themselves praising it. I was like, all right, tone it down.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
let's tone
Really
it
good.
down.
It's
Absolutely.
funny
No
though.
way.
I think it was
You
one
guys
of the
are
first movies that was as funny because before that,
Yeah.
the only funny movies we had were Iron Man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then we didn't have
totally.
one for years before because
was
Iron
just
Man
so
3 was.
different.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was very
it was
different.
different.
And it was edgy too. And I think that was the other, like, as different of a comic book movie as Winter Soldier was. Guardians took it all the way kind of in another direction.
Yeah.
And I think Guardians was just so much. It was just so modern and so much of the times.
Yeah.
That it hit people the right way. And I still think it's quality and just shows you how in tune James Gunn was. But I'm also a little concerned because we didn't get there yet. We'll keep going.
Yeah.
Volume
So-
2. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So Guardians, unlike the other ones, like really did have a lot of payoff. That's
Absolutely.
where we really got to look at what Infinity Stones can do with
Yeah.
Yeah.
Power Stone.
Yep.
Power Stone.
Power
Yeah,
Stone.
you
I
got
was
it.
like pretty sure that's what that one was.
You got it.
So that had a lot of payoff. We skipped over the Winter Soldier because somebody
Sorry.
bad person.
Let's
So
go
Winter
back.
Soldier also had a lot of payoff because we get an entirely new look at the Cap that we're going to see for the rest of the Infinity Saga,
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
and how he starts to not so much be the patriotic boy next door anymore, starts to question things, starts to,
Right.
he heads down that path that's going to take him to civil war with Bucky.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That whole movie just makes me cry. When he pulls
Totally.
up the mask and he's like, Bucky? And he goes, who's Bucky? I'm
Yeah.
just crying on the couch.
I loved it.
Or when they're in the crashing helicarrier, he's like, "I'm with you to the end of the line."
Yeah. That's what got me. When he did that one, they just started flowing.
like,
I was like, oh, come on, bruh. You can't do that
my
to me,
God.
man. I ain't supposed to cry in comic book
We
movies.
could put the couch cushions on the floor like when we were kids.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Movie
That was
You guys
that-
are
destroys me
suckers.
emotionally.
No,
And
so
then
good.
like we've talked or I've talked a lot about like I really don't like the characterization of Black Widow, and I think this was the Russo brothers trying to fix a lot of the damage that Whedon had done to her.
Totally.
Yeah, because she was
so I appreciated
really
that.
good in this.
She was good in this. And then Age of Ultron came out, and Whedon was like, "Fuck y'all."
Yeah, I liked
Well,
her.
technically Favreau too, right? Because that's where she first
That's where
showed
she
up.
started, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a huge problem. So like the Russo brothers were trying to fix some of the damage that had been done to her character, and I appreciated that from them. And then it was
Yeah.
kind of all for nothing in the end.
I like the relationship between her and Cap in there, like very
Yeah.
much like best friends and like chilling, like going on this adventure, and like the whole time she's trying to set him up with somebody, like even like up to the point to where they push the guy off the building, like right before Falcon makes his grand entrance. She's like, "What about Sue in accounting?" "Oh yeah, the blonde yeah,
the
I'm
lip
not-
piercing?
Oh, with the lip piercing, I'm not ready."
Complete the mission, then find me a date.
Yeah,
I love it. And like
yeah, and then with the Manchurian starter,
And we got Batroc. We got
did.
Batroc.
for
And
like 20 seconds.
true, but you know what? But it was JP. What's this dude? GSP.
Oh, George St. Pierre.
Yeah, and
yeah.
that, and I mean, he turned out to be really good. He's an actual martial artist. He was
Yeah.
able to totally sell it.
He's actually French.
He's actually French,
Yeah.
and Batroc is easily one of the most. You can screw Batroc up so easy. So when the Russo brothers put Batroc in, and for people don't know how goofy he is, how like he only kicks. He does that French version of like Taekwondo or whatever.
Oh, okay.
He literally leaps. He's Batroc the leaper. So for us to get him in a way where people didn't laugh their face off
Yeah.
when they saw him, I was
Yeah.
like, these Russo brothers, they're on to something.
Yeah, we should keep our eyes on these guys.
And that fight scene, like where like he just like they just look at each other and he
Yeah.
goes puts a shield on,
Oh,
takes off
yeah.
the helmet
Oh,
and
I
drops
loved
it. I was
it.
like, oh shit, Cap's getting real.
Yeah.
Cap just put his hair in a ponytail and had someone hold his earrings. He's ready.
So Winter Soldier had a lot of payoff in the future. Guardians of the Galaxy obviously had a lot of payoff in the future, and that takes us to Age of Ultron, which is a fucking mess.
Yeah.
A lot of payoff,
Yeah.
but a fucking mess. The only thing, I actually just wrote notes on this because I was like trying to think. Oh, actually, I don't have them anymore. But I was like, what did we get out of this movie? Like the pros and the cons of this movie. Like the pros is like we got Vision
Yeah.
Yep.
We got Wanda.
and
Scarlet Witch.
A version of Scarlet
we
Witch.
got a version of Scarlet Witch. I was like, we got
Nerfed.
Vision,
Yeah.
question mark for everything else. And it was like cons. Here's all the things that were wrong with this movie. Like,
Well, okay, so the big things for me that were wrong with the movie were it was a weird, out of the blue, forced Bruce and Nat.
that was super
Yeah.
weird.
It was like out. I was like, where did this come from? It made me question: did I miss something
Right.
in all these other movies?
Because the only interaction we'd seen before was him fucking terrifying her.
Yeah, in Avengers.
Yeah.
and then now, oh yeah, okay, and then
Like the whole lullaby thing.
the lullaby thing
didn't
that
make
was
any
super
sense.
random.
Because there's no, as far as I could tell, there's no basis for that in the comics. Like,
No,
there's nobody
not
that
that I'm
can, like,
familiar
walk
with at
up to
all.
the Hulk and
Yeah.
calm him down.
The weird, the really super cringy, like I can't have kids thing.
Right.
And then
Fucking
and then
tell me
just
about it.
the like the horrible way that they did Ultron. Like just like minimized Ultron so much from what he actually is in the comics.
We want to
Like-
talk about minimizing a character. Let's talk about motherfucking Wanda Maximoff.
Well, yeah, that's another character that's completely nerfed, but like she has to be nerfed for it to make sense to the average comic book goer.
They just ruined her. And if you're
They
gonna
did.
ruin her, don't
Put
use
her in there. And that's the
Or
thing
wait
is-
until you can use her properly. Because they acknowledge when what's-her-face is explaining their powers about the Maximoff twins, and Wanda is said to have telekinesis and mental manipulation.
Yeah.
And that is it. That is the entirety of her character. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
This is not my Scarlet Witch.
And then when he was like, huh? He runs really fast and she's weird.
Yeah, she's weird is what we got for her.
They
Oh my
all
God.
make all this shit clear on WandaVision. Don't worry.
That is the worst name I've ever heard in my life.
still-
What? No.
That sounds-
You
like-
could not have spent less time coming up with a name for that show.
Okay.
It's actually misleading.
Here's what WandaVision actually is. Are you ready? It's a remote control that's shaped like a wand, so you can wand a vision and
That's-
change the channel.
That would be a
That's
better
disgusting.
idea.
You disgust me.
That's a better idea though than
It
the
seems
TV
like
show.
it's like those two are gonna have like a stage comedy show, like WandaVision, and it's there's got magic and it's like on one
Terrible.
set,
It's a variety show.
yeah, variety show. Donnie and Marie, WandaVision.
The whole
So-
since they couldn't do anything with mutants, it was
Right,
already
like you can't even use them.
Yeah,
No.
And that was
kill
like-
Quicksilver right off the bat.
Right, you're gonna introduce Quicksilver and then kill him as fast as you bring him in, and that's what pissed me off because I was watching that movie and I watched him die, and I was like, oh, that's super upsetting. But like, he's gonna be back in a second because she's just gonna resurrect him. No, she's not.
Nope.
No, she's not.
Now, interesting enough though,
Because that would break the rest of the movies.
that is one death that didn't get reversed in the movies. So I mean, if as much as
True.
people talk about but as much as people talk about they die and they just come back, they didn't bring back Quicksilver. I mean, I'm just gonna give them credit where credit's due. My biggest thing, actually, well, I don't want to say my biggest thing, but the thing that stuck out the most to me, because when the trailers came out and you heard James Spader do Ultron,
Pinocchio thing.
yeah, his tone of voice, the way that he was talking, and everything was close to Ultron, but it was very menacing at the very least. But then when you go into the movie, he's like,
Quippy.
yeah,
Witty.
Yeah.
he
sounds
way
like Tony Stark.
Yeah, he's way too human.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's where you guys fundamentally messed up. I almost felt like they got all of those takes from him, and part of like the whole hack job with the executive producers coming in and meddling too much with all the product placement and ads and all that was that as well. They were like, I think because James Spader and how like menacing he can be. You watched
The Office. It's fucking creepy in The Office.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
that's not where he's creepy. What was that other
Robert,
show?
California.
Oh, shit, The Blacklist.
The Blacklist.
Blacklist, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, we're gonna get that, and then I think they came in and they were like, okay, he did too good of a job. This is too scary, and all of the moms that are bringing their kids to see this, it's gonna freak them out. Can we make him more funny? And then when they went back and did the reshoots, they got a bunch of that crap.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Yeah, so we got a lot of bad out of Age of Ultron, but at the very the silver lining I think of this movie is everybody at Marvel kind of went, maybe we shouldn't use Joss Whedon anymore.
Is that when it started happening?
Because I think it's the last one he did.
It was. But I don't think it was. I think he left because
That's
remember,
fine, whatever it was.
They signed him up for more movies. And remember, they put him in after he did Avengers. They said he's in charge of the MCU thing. That all happened.
right.
He bounced. He was like, "Y'all mess with my movie too much," and like to your point, not many people were like, "Oh." So and then the Russos ended up taking
oh, no,
over.
Wait, no, come back.
But
Joss,
remember,
please.
originally he was supposed to do Avengers 3 and 4 as well
Yikes.
because of how much money he made off the
Ew,
first
can you
one.
imagine Joss Whedon's Infinity War?
I can't, and honestly, not just because of how I feel about some of the things he's done and said, but just because of the quality that the Russo brothers have
Right.
brought. I can't even imagine it.
I think this was a whole pioneering thing that we started the show by saying took over 10 years, and change is jarring. So like you can't just do it all at once, and it's possible that each of these people came in for their season and needed to go for the evolution of the series. Like
That's how it works.
I think as the story started getting and the consumers got more sophisticated, we outgrew Whedon's type of storytelling and
real
his,
quick. I
would say so.
and his diversity and all the things that everyone critiques him on. But for that season, he was great and he knew what he was doing. But as things started getting and we started wanting more complicated storylines and more diverse characters, it was like, okay, now it's time to bring in these other people.
He was on the brink anyway. Like what he contributed to nerd culture or whatever was very much mid late 90s or early 2000s, and the Russo brothers were the producers that were coming over and bringing in the current TV with Community and like the current TV culture. So I think it was all for the best anyway.
It's more self-aware.
Totally.
Yeah, so
How far?
Ultron did give us a lot as far as like payoff in the end, because we started to get that serious divide in the Avengers, and that's where that all kind of started to grow.
Yeah.
And then for some reason we ended phase 2 not with that but with Ant-Man.
That was weird, a weird ending. And you know what though? I still don't love the movie, but watching it a second time for this rewatch, I was like, it's not as bad as I remembered it being.
I never thought it was a bad movie. It was one of those that I just saw and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
it exists.
Hated it.
Yeah.
Hated it. It's like low on the totem pole for me. It's probably like Winter Soldier's the very bottom. And
You're
then,
a bitch. You're a bitch. Is there anything else? Because I will steal it all over your computer.
No, but no.
Well, that's our show,
I will
everybody.
shut this podcast down.
For real, Ant-Man was easily the worst in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I think Ant-Man, and I've said it before, and I still stand by it, especially now that we've seen Ant-Man and the Wasp. Ant-Man and the Wasp should have been the first one. There's no reason for Ant-Man to
Yes.
exist.
Yep.
But, so what we got out of that was that Ant-Man exists, and we got Cassie.
Quantum Realm.
Quantum
That
Realm?
is true. That's where we started to explore the quantum realm, not the second one. That is correct. So that ends off phase 2, and then we get into phase 3, which is what we're in now, and which is easily the biggest. I don't know why this is a single phase.
I know. I saw you say something about phase 4 like a little while ago, and I was like, we're in phase 4. And I was like, oh, no, we're not.
Yeah, phase 3 is Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, Spider-Man, Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, and Endgame.
That's how you fucking end a series right there. God damn, they stacked it.
It's the
deep.
third act.
Yeah.
This is easily the best. I don't think there were no misses with this one.
No.
Everything was gold.
Everything was
Civil
great.
War was a phenomenal movie, if not a bad telling of the Civil War storyline,
Yes.
and a complete change
But
of
it was
it.
still a
but it
great
was still
movie.
a good movie.
It was
Tony Stank?
not Civil War
War.
from the
It was-
comics.
no.
Absolutely not.
But they used just like Age of Ultron wasn't Age of Ultron.
Right.
Yeah, it
Right.
wasn't near Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
And that was obviously all of these movies had huge payoff down the line. Like that is where you split the Avengers apart and you get the divide that we see in Infinity War. There, they have to start to come together again. Doctor Strange, which I loved. I love Doctor Strange. I feel like it got kind of like mixed stuff, but I really enjoyed it. I just rewatched it the other day. Still really good. People were like ragging on Benedict Cumberbatch's American accent, and I thought it was fine. I was like, I didn't hear anything wrong with
Yeah,
it.
I was just watching it. It seemed fine to me.
What are they talking about?
And then you mentioned like all the controversy with the Ancient One. And,
Yeah.
honestly, I think all that came down to like, if you're going to cast a white person to play the Ancient One, I honestly think what it came down to was that they couldn't cast like an actual Tibetan actor because they didn't want to piss off China. and they're like, we know that the Chinese market is our biggest demographic, and we need to not make them angry.
It was political.
I was like, yikes!
Sure.
All right,
And
that was a choice.
They made sure to explain it. And all we know is she's Celtic.
Yeah, she's Celtic, and that like there have been, you know,
and that it's a title passed on.
One big thing from there though, Wong. They removed him from being Doctor Strange's like servant and aide to him being damn near like an equal.
Oh, is that what he is in the comics?
Yeah, in the comics
that was a good move. That was a good move for them.
Yeah. Everybody should read The Oath though by Brian K. Vaughan. Incredible story.
Oh, I like Brian K. Vaughan.
So good. Two issues too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Guardians 2, I think was phenomenal. I think that was so much better than the first one. Not that the first one was bad, but Guardians 2 was so good. I see you making that face. What is that?
I was so let down by it. I had high hopes.
Was it because of ego?
That was one of them because I love Kurt Russell as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the big things. It felt too self-indulgent to me. Like I just felt like they were like, James Gunn, do whatever you want this time, everything, and it was a little less oversight, a little less editing. So some things were a little too gratuitous. Some things like with the Baby Groot and the like getting the eye and all that stuff. I love Baby Groot, but I don't know. Some of it just all was a little. And then the father son thing and them like throwing the ball and all that. That was a little too.
Oh, come on, Chris.
I think that
this
was-
is why it was one of my favorites.
Really?
You got the cats
I
in
think
the
that was
cradle
it
and
was
the
supposed
silver
to be though. Like,
spoon.
it was supposed to be like way over the top because that's how
It was.
That's how Star-Lord, that's how Peter Quill sees it.
Totally. And it was. I mean, like everybody who worked for it, I get. It's just some of those things were just a little too on the nose for me personally. But how it set with everybody, I think it was dope. I loved more than that. I loved Yondu's relationship with
Yeah.
Yeah,
Star-Lord.
that's the whole dad thing.
That was-
Yeah.
It's tied into the main storyline. That's the thing from the beginning that I liked. It was so good. I think if we want to talk about moments that we cried or whatever, that was the closest I got to maybe shedding a tear.
I think
Was
Guardians
I'm Mary
2
Poppins like right around that time?
That's what made you cry. I'm Mary Poppins.
No,
When he came in to save, his death scene was like whatever. But when he came back and felt that moment of pride, like that's when I feel like they made the connection. And then when he died, it was just a cherry on top. But I started crying at that point.
Oh,
I think Guardians
When
2
he-
is one of the most emotionally impactful movies in the
sure.
entirety of the MCU. I spend like 90% of that movie in tears.
Did you, when you were talking about Baby Groot, are you talking about the opening?
No, he's
No,
talking
no,
Well,
no.
the
about
opening too. I couldn't stand the opening. I couldn't stand
All
it.
right, on 3, table flip. 3, 2, 1.
Couldn't
No,
stand it.
I
And
love it.
James Gunn like choreographed all of that. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't stand it. I was like, okay, I get it, but you're like, yeah, he's dancing. I could have left it.
loved it.
But I get it.
That embodies the series to me. It's good music with action and comedy all rolled up into one with like a kind of a scummy lead character.
Trash Panda.
Trash Panda, like a band of misfits that do the right thing at the end of the day. I love it.
The line that, I mean, obviously there's a lot, but like the line that gets me every time is that like it killed me to put that tumor in your mother's head. Oh, you have that immediate, just
man.
like you realize
And then
what actually happened.
I love the song that they come in there, the Fleetwood Mac
yeah,
song.
yep.
Yeah.
I
That's a
hated.
good choice.
I used to not like Fleetwood Mac. Like,
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan. They were just existed, and that song I really didn't like.
Was that
Break the Chains?
Oh, it was. That's right. Yeah.
And as soon as all that emotion happens, that thing starts kicking in.
Yeah.
Now every time, I got to hear that song. I
the
love
use
it.
of the music again was second to none.
Yeah.
That's really like, if anything, James Gunn is an incredible DJ.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
He has
off
the
of
sickest Spotify
he's really
playlist.
good at being that guy that says, "Hey, have you heard the song?" And then bam.
Exactly.
so off of Guardians 2, if we're kind of thinking more about, you know, what exactly was established, I think the most important thing that it established would be probably Nebula's desire to kill Thanos. It kind of sets all that up. And her mission to go do that. And then something that we haven't even seen pay off yet, but all the Ravager clans. Like,
True.
And then the big
Yeah.
one that gets together with Michelle Yeoh and
Yep.
Sylvester Stallone and all those people. Like,
Sly
I think
Miley
that,
Cyrus.
Oh yeah,
I think that is going to be what we eventually see the payoff from Guardians 2 be, even though we haven't seen it quite yet.
I would like to see
And then
that.
after that, we go into Homecoming. So we finally got our new Spider-Man, which is a movie I did not want to like. I was mad about this movie. I didn't want this movie. And then I saw it and I was like, fuck, it's good.
Yeah, that was good.
It was
I just didn't want a third Spider-Man.
Oh, okay,
in
I
a
got
span
you.
of 10 years.
I was okay with the third Spider-Man in the span of 10 years because they weren't going back to the beginning. It was, we already know who he is. This is now, he's gone. He's fight Captain America. He's fight the kid from Brooklyn. Now he's back at home, and he's a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's not going off. He's not going
a
into
good story.
deep New York. No, he's sticking around the neighborhood.
We're not going to watch Uncle Ben die again.
Helping old ladies, not watching old Ben.
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton.
Oh, he's a great
That's a
villain.
good villain.
Yeah,
That plot twist.
and that was right around the time where people were starting to get on Marvel about like your villains are becoming one dimensional,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
then he came in, and that whole ride in the car.
That was good. That was really good.
was a
That was where
good-
my
yeah, that's
rewatch
tension.
today was. So I rewatched Spider-Man just today, and it's so good.
Yeah,
it's
it's
so good.
It's good.
And I didn't. This is the first time I've seen it since I watched Spider-Verse.
Okay.
So I didn't realize who Aaron Davis was.
Oh yeah, his
I didn't
uncle.
quite
Yeah,
get
his
that.
uncle. Miles Morales' uncle.
Yeah, that Donald Glover is the Prowler.
Yep.
Didn't get that until
There was
this
a
time.
huge online campaign for years.
I know,
wanting
for him to be
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. And they're like, nah, we're going to cast another 20-year-old white kid.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I guess that's the direction you want to go.
I think it's funny that he was the voice of Miles Morales in the cartoon,
That's
and then
right.
when it came to Spider-Verse, they ended up getting the kid from Dope. I figured they would
Yeah.
have just went with him again. Maybe he was busy. I don't know.
So we went off. So Homecoming gave us
Spider-Man.
gave
More
us Spider-Man, gave us the introduction of Spider-Man. So that in and of itself was the setup that we got from that movie. We got a look at him being accepted into the Avengers, even though he declined. We got to look at the Iron Spider suit. We got to look at him and Tony's relationship, which
the
I
only-
really like.
Yeah, it's the only reason the Endgame thing was so emotional. You know, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good because we have seen these two grow in the movies
And like
already.
the
That was improv.
proud dad, it was, and like the proud dad moment, kind of thing that Tony takes on. Even when like in the phone call, where he's like, my dad never really said anything to me, so I'm trying to break the cycle, and like, I'm proud of you, and you did good. And he's like, it's like a throwaway conversation because Peter's trying to like get him off the phone and like deal with shit.
Right.
But so that was kind of what we got out of Homecoming. We moved from there into Ragnarok, where we find out what's been going on with Thor and the Hulk the whole time. We get Valkyrie. Really good movie. Really
good.
saved Thor.
Yeah.
I think in the
Oh,
eyes
yeah.
of most fans.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It just took a lot of what was working from Guardians and threw it into the Thor world.
I remember the first time I saw the trailer, I thought, like, everybody was, like, out of their minds with the Ragnarok trailer. And I went, this is trying way too hard to be Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was 100%.
Like,
100% was.
Like, you
I'm
went
not
with,
mad at
like,
it.
the old school music over
Old school
it.
music.
Super colorful.
Colorful.
Like, I was like, tone this down.
Lots
Best
of
part of
space.
it was that it basically took one of the best Hulk stories. It robbed Hulk of one of his best storylines.
Planet Hulk.
I feel like besides Hawkeye and Black Widow, maybe Hulk is the one that kind of got screwed in this whole MCU.
Yeah, we just don't see enough of him.
We don't see enough of him, and like anything that's cool about him gets brushed over.
That well, I was gonna wait to talk about it, but it's all because of the licensing deal that they or the distribution deal that they have with Universal.
Yeah.
So since Universal has to distribute the movies, like they have to go through Universal through the distribution, and since they don't want to cut the check because Universal don't want to play fair, they have to keep inserting little bits of Hulk into everybody else's movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That
So
makes
we
sense.
and Ragnarok gave us Hela, who I loved.
Hela
was
another
a
great villain.
phenomenal
Yeah.
villain.
The movie was hella good.
They started like that's terrible. They started like really up in the villains at that point. Like Hela was amazing.
Yep.
At that point, like I was kind of over Loki again at this point. He
Yeah.
was there, but
oh, he's
whatever.
alive again.
He's alive
What?
again. Oh, and now he's a good guy.
Oh, but no,
whatever.
he's a bad guy again. That
I'm
trickster.
over it.
But what's dope about it is they turned it on its ear, and Thor didn't fall for none of the bullshit. this
Yeah.
time.
That's
Yeah.
true.
I like the that they took him to hell too. Like you get to see
Yeah.
that aspect
in the beginning.
In the beginning when he was with that demon.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
you talking about when he was with Surtur?
Yeah. Where was he?
No, he was just with That's just where Surtur. That's just Surtur's lair.
Oh,
That wasn't hell. Yeah, that was just
Oh.
that was just Surtur's lair. Yeah.
Which was
Fair
the
enough.
first glimpse that we saw, like, okay, this is a different Thor movie. When he's, like, on the chain, he's like, oh, hang on, coming back around.
You're like, all right. We
That
got
crown on your head.
Yeah. That
So we got-
tiara.
So out of Ragnarok, we got Valkyrie, who we'll see again. We got
Yes.
the destruction of Asgard. We got the ship that they all escape on, which is
Yep.
where we see Infinity War pick up.
I'm
And
getting the
from-
Tesseract back out
Yep.
of the throne room
Yep.
as well.
taking the space stone back.
Korg. Was
Korg
that
and
one, too?
Meek.
Yeah.
Me.
So after Ragnarok, we moved into Black Panther.
Yeah.
Another
3 good villains in a row.
So good.
Another phenomenal movie.
Killmonger, yeah.
Best villain in the MCU.
Holy
One of them.
crap.
by
Super good.
a fucking mile.
Super
Yeah.
good. Super. Well, better than Thanos?
I think it depends on how
On
you
par.
define it. I think he's on par. I
Okay.
think the thing that's great about Killmonger is that he's relatable and that you can understand why he's doing what he's doing, and it
Right.
makes sense and there's a point to it. And like they try to do the same thing with Thanos, but Thanos still comes off as just like a fucking psychopath because he's trying to commit genocide.
I mean, Killmonger still comes off of as a
He
psychopath.
is. He's a psychopath as
Yeah.
well, but like he's more, I feel like, relatable. He's more
Yeah,
understandable.
the dad storyline
'Cause
like
he got-
really sold
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, 100%.
but like he was just phenomenal.
Yeah, he was real good.
And Black Panther gave us at the very end, gave us Bucky back
Yep.
and the White Wolf,
The White Wolf.
which I'm very, very happy for.
Yeah,
my
that's
boy.
Dope. That's dope. Love Sebastian
We got
Stan.
we got the introduction of Black Panther. Well, the true introduction, as
Right.
after Civil War, we get to actually see him. We get to see Wakanda. We get to see their
Yeah.
technology that's going to come into play.
Yep.
We get to see Shuri, who
Mm-hmm.
I feel like hopefully we'll get to see play a bigger role going forward.
Hope so.
And then right off the back of Black Panther, we had Infinity War.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is such
A
a great
lot.
movie, and it was there was so much to it. I've said this before, like the only issue I had it wasn't with the movie itself, it was with the fact that like there's
I know
no
exactly what you're gonna say.
there was no at the end of the movie there were sad parts, but I there was no part of me that was like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? No, because we know there's 6 sequels coming out.
Exactly. We
Yeah.
know Black Panther has a greenlit sequel. We
Yeah.
know Doctor Strange has a greenlit sequel. We know Spider. These motherfuckers
these
are all
things-
coming back.
They're coming
yeah,
back.
but I
so-
don't see that. I think that's we know that just as moviegoer. You think they're gonna end all those franchises
No, I
right
think
there?
what killed me with it, and I think what killed Webb too, is like they shot themselves in the foot with the emotional impact of it.
Yeah, because it had zero. It should have been a very emotional thing. Not so much like, oh my god, what are they gonna do? But like, holy crap, this is insane. Like, shit just got real. But I'm like, shit didn't get real because they're coming back. I know they're coming back.
So when Peter Parker died,
So that was the one that got me, and it was only because of
Like
his.
it's still emotional in the
reaction.
moment. Like
That-
when I'm in the theater and I'm watching it, I'm crying my eyes out.
Yeah, that's what
But
it's supposed
when
to
I
do.
That's
take
what- yeah,
5
that's what it's
seconds
for.
and I go, oh, they're all coming back. It doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, a movie's identity lives within that minute it starts to the minute it ends. It's not supposed to be self-aware of how you all feel at the end of the day.
Not
That's
really.
that's
No.
a you thing.
Not
No,
really,
I
not
think-
really, because the other Marvel movies there was a lot of like, oh crap, like how is that gonna play? Like what's gonna happen next, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, within the confines of the universe, not necessarily minding what's going to happen outside, like what movie's coming out next and the human error, what Marvel executives are talking about. The,
Well, and it's
the
the
film
same
is
thing-
just telling you a story.
It's
Right.
the same thing that's going to kill me with Endgame because it bothered the shit out of me that they announced all their Disney Plus shows like 3 weeks before Endgame came out. Like, just wait 3 weeks to tell us Wanda and Vision are getting a show, Loki's getting a show, Falcon and Winter Soldier are getting a
Well,
show.
and it's the
Because
same
you're going to
thing-
be like, oh, they could be a prequel. It's not going to be a fucking prequel.
It's the same thing where it was like,
like 3 weeks.
Then the posters came out, and
Yeah.
the posters
You
are
guys are too
colored.
nerdy.
It's like I want to know. I don't want to know this much. I
guys-
want to find
Yeah.
out in the movie.
but how much do you really know though?
So like with the posters, you know who like there was the
Who
ones
lived
that we
and who
know
died in
for
Infinity
sure.
War.
But
Well, that's
we-
what we're going to go over next.
Yeah.
Oh,
guys-
shoot.
I was going to let you finish, but anyway.
I was just
Yeah.
okay, Kanye. We know that there were we know definitely who died and who survived, but then there were those what
ifs.
what
Like
ifs.
Shuri.
Shuri, Pepper, like all these that were like, oh my god, like okay, did they survive? Did they not? We need to know because.
But how does that give away the plot though?
It's not necessarily the plot. It's like
That one
I will
wasn't a
grant
big
you,
one
it's a
for me.
minor thing in the grand scheme of things because you look at it and you're like, okay, so I know they're right, but to me, it's not going to have that like moment when you
And-
see them
Yeah.
on screen.
Oh, and I think that's part of it because like just because you know someone is alive or dead, and especially when there's so many people, doesn't necessarily give away how we get from A to B, and that's what that's really
true.
what a story is, right? Like, I mean, even if you look at the traditional storytelling, you're like, okay, you know, there's got to be the issue, there's got to be the conflict, the hero has to fail, the hero has to find out how to overcome it, and then the final,
Right.
like we all know how stories go for the
Right.
most part, but how you get from A to B, because otherwise we wouldn't read very much, we wouldn't go see very much,
Right.
because all of like the major stories are pretty much the same. Endgame though, Infinity War turned it on its ear, because I guarantee no one thought that it was gonna end with
Like
Thanos
that,
winning.
Yeah.
I mean, I assumed because once they split into 2 movies, and I was like, okay, well, like, I was not in the least surprised when Thanos won because
What was weird though, what I heard from a lot of people that aren't necessarily like us that know everything,
right.
is they didn't know that it was 2 parts.
No,
because
exactly.
they had changed the title. It used to be titled Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2,
Yep.
and when they changed the title, people didn't realize they were seeing Part 1 of a 2-part story.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, kind of
Pay
like
attention, people.
Yeah, like Cory was saying, that's the other thing. We are the 1% that know so much more than the general audience.
Right.
And there's only so much that they can do to protect, because leaks get out and stuff like that. Like, we know stuff that we ain't got no business knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, going out of Infinity War, now that Webb just said he doesn't like knowing who lived and who died, we're going to talk about who lived and who died.
Yeah, perfect.
Wait, what about Captain Marvel?
What do you mean, what about her?
We didn't talk about the movie.
I know, we're not done yet.
Oh, we're not.
But we're still
okay.
on Infinity
We're
War.
still on Infinity
We're
War.
still on
Oh,
Infinity War.
these are all notes about Infinity War. Okay.
This is just the list of people.
all right.
Yeah.
So, who got snapped? We saw Doctor Strange, Wanda, T'Challa, Sam, Bucky, most of the Guardians except for Rocket. So, Star-Lord, Mantis, Drax, Nick Fury. Not a Guardian. We moved on. It's going to say that.
Gamora died earlier.
Gamora died earlier. Yeah. I almost called him Peter Man. Spider-Man.
Peter Man.
Groot, Shuri, Wasp, Hope Van Dyne, and her parents.
Shuri. Did we know? Like, was that in the movie?
No, it was in the posters.
So it was in the posters, and then I think she was one of the ones where
They said too spoilery.
what?
Oh, that's where you're going. There was an interview that the Russo brothers did shortly after the movie where people were asking, like, you know, we're going to ask you if somebody was snapped or not. And they were like, okay, we'll tell you yes they were, no they weren't, or it's too spoilery to tell you. And at the time, they said Shuri was too spoilery to say.
Okay.
And then we did eventually find out. So Shuri, Wasp and her parents, Hank Pym, and I cannot for the life of me remember her mom's name.
Feels like it's Vivian.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Wait, that is Janet Van Dyne.
Janet, thank you.
Janet, not Vivian.
And then Loki, Gamora, and Vision all died pre-snap. And then later confirmed by the Russo brothers, Lady Sif got snapped, Betty Ross, and Matt Damon.
Oh,
Yeah,
actual
he's
Matt
gone.
Damon?
No,
wow.
the actor he played.
and actual Matt Damon.
Matt Damon exists in the MCU and he's dead.
MCU Matt Damon. Why wouldn't he?
So that's everybody who's snapped. And then the ones that we got confirmed as alive are Iron Man, Cap, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Hulk, Iron Patriot, Thor, Captain Marvel, Valkyrie, Rocket, Nebula, Ant-Man, Pepper Potts, Happy Hogan, Okoye, and Wong. And then confirmed off-screen by the Russo brothers was Aunt May, Nakia, and Howard the Duck.
Yes, Howard the Duck made it.
And the Russo brothers even talked about this in an interview about them struggling, and like granted they were talking about more of the trailer, but they were talking about their struggle with the Marvel marketing team on like, okay, we understand we want to market, but we can't give too much away in the trailer. Like we want to keep things secret for the trailer.
So are you saying there's too much in these trailers that have been released?
I wouldn't
don't
know. I
haven't
haven't
watched
seen them.
Okay. There definitely is not. They're just trailers, people. Like you can watch them. Don't let these two influence your life decisions.
I'm just saying.
Influence.
And then
TWI.
unconfirmed by the Russo brothers because they said that these were too spoilery to tell us whether they lived or died. We had Korg Meek from Ragnarok.
Okay.
That's too
some reason
spoilery?
that was too
Oh my
spoilery.
god, they're the ones that killed Thanos. Confirmed.
Shuri, who we now know is dead, and Jane Foster was too spoilery. Which motherfuckers give me Jane Foster Thor. That's all I can hope for.
Or
of
Jane
why.
Valkyrie. Valkyrie.
No, Jane Foster Thor. I
No?
don't want Jane Foster Valkyrie.
Jane
I want her
Foster
to be Thor,
Thor.
like she's supposed to be.
You want them to bring back
Natalie Portman.
Amidala?
Yes,
Padme.
I do.
Or
Padme.
Yes, I
okay,
do.
but do you think she will come back?
I don't know.
That's gonna be a recast.
I know.
No.
I want
It's gonna be
Natalie Portman back
recast.
because Natalie Portman was criminally underutilized in Dark World. Like,
like she
her
wasn't.
character was not good in that movie.
Oh, that's
Like-
what you mean by underutilized. When you kept saying that, I kept thinking that you meant she wasn't in it enough, and I watched it. I was like, she's in damn near every single scene, Emma. What
no,
more do
they
you
just
want?
they just diminished her character a lot in
Yeah,
that movie, and it bugged
get
the shit
that.
out of me. So, coming out of Infinity War, that's who we know currently is alive and who's dead. There's a lot to unpack there.
They definitely got all the OD characters out of the way.
That was kind of what bothered me. Is like at the end of Endgame, what you had were the originals. I was like, we
Infinity
just
War.
went back 10 years and gave me the original. Like, what? Why'd you kill everybody new?
I always think about the scene. It cracks me up to this day. Speaking about going back to the OGs, you have that scene in the Avengers when, like, okay, Hulk is here, everybody's here. Iron Man's like, all right, Cap, what's the play? And like they do that. The camera does like that 360 spin, right? And you have like Iron Man has his repulsors ready, Cap has his shield, and then like you have Hulk growling. Thor has the hammer, and then like even Hawkeye knocks an arrow and like gets ready, and then you have Widow with the tiniest gun put a new clip in. I'm like, how is that gonna kill Chitauri? Like give her something, like have her pick up a weapon or something.
I think
and have her something more
SNL
badass.
did a good one with Hawkeye.
I love that one.
When he's like has the little tiny bandolier, whatever you put your bows and arrows in. They're like,
Yeah.
how many of those did you even bring? He's like, well, it holds 6, but 8 if I could really jam them in there.
And they're like, yep, 8 of those kills were mine.
Yep.
So we're going to come back to Infinity War since that's the big one, but going in release order, after that we had Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I felt like was a weird thing to release after Infinity War, but I guess they just kind of made do with the release schedule they had.
I think they were also
Yeah.
trying to lighten things up a little bit because it was such like a definite and like not, it was such a somber ending. I think they wanted to put out another comedy movie to kind of infuse it, and they needed to remind everybody like, hey, we accidentally did Ant-Man in the quantum realm too long ago.
Yeah.
So just in case you guys forgot, there's quantum realm again.
Quantum
Oh
realm.
yeah,
Yeah.
and by the way, Wasp, she kicks just as much ass, if not more,
If
than
not
Ant-Man.
more. She absolutely. And that was why I watched this movie, and I was like, I'm completely fucking vindicated. This should have been the first
This
one.
should have been the first
Yeah.
one.
You did not
100%.
need the first Ant-Man movie for this one to exist. It
Nope.
was so much better. The pacing was better. Hope was better.
The villain.
The villain, Ghost, right? What was her name?
Yeah, it was Ghost.
Yeah.
We got a much better, more in-depth look into the quantum realm in a way that, like,
Yeah.
we could have gone into this not knowing what the quantum realm was,
Totally.
not having had that set up from the first one, and gotten this one.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was so good. I love this movie, and I love how much Cassie we get, and like they're laying it
so
on
cute.
thick.
Yeah.
That she wants to be just like Daddy. She wants to be a superhero just like Daddy. Like I was like, I get it. Give it to me. Give me.
Young Avengers.
What is her stature? Stature.
Yeah, the feeling you have about that side of the storytelling is why I like the Guardians one so much. It's kind of relatable. It's so good
Yeah.
when you can actually identify with the characters.
Yeah. So the biggest takeaway going forward from that is going to be the quantum realm, and then our latest one was Captain Marvel,
Yeah.
which gave us
Cap Marv.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
Yep.
the
She's gonna
savior.
save everybody.
She's gonna have a big piece
She's gonna
of the
save
puzzle.
everybody.
Savior of the universe.
I'm so
Because
excited.
she's the strongest one.
She is.
I don't know. Not
Hands
if you ask
down.
Chris Hemsworth.
Holy crap. That
He's
was
laying it
Yikes.
on pretty thick. He thinks
Yikes.
Thor's the strongest.
That look in her eyes in that interview, like, I know that look.
I-
I felt that look.
I've seen
honestly
you give
think-
that look.
I honestly think they don't like each other.
And that's the thing is like I was at first I was thinking like, okay, this is like another gimmicky thing, like they keep having what's his name like do spoilers and it's like, oh, he what's Hulk?
Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo. Oh, he accidentally left his phone on Instagram Live, like all these like
Oh,
marketing
yeah,
things.
yeah.
And I'm like, okay, is this like a marketing stunt? Is this like an allude to something in the
Or is
in
this
the
just
movie?
really awkward?
Or do they just knock it along? And you have Don Cheadle like in the interview next to him, like sitting there thinking like, son of a bitch, why do I keep getting in these crazy interviews?
For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, there was an interview that came out the other day of Don Cheadle, Brie Larson, and Chris Hemsworth, and the interviewer asked something about like his battle of the sexes, some kind of
Which
stupid,
is a weird question.
some kind of just
Yeah.
stupid bullshit.
It was a bait question.
It was,
It was.
dumb.
Yeah.
It was a lazy, stupid question. And Brie Larson's like, oh, well, there's not really like a competition because like I'm the strongest, so it doesn't matter. And Chris Hemsworth got like very
He got
defensive
tilted.
about it. It was really awkward and like canonically she's right, so why are you getting pissed off? Like just chill, man. It's a really awkward interview.
Well,
It's
in
like
his
30
contract,
seconds.
it says he's the most powerful superhero.
I'm sure it does.
There's the power scaling happens on both sides. When he gets the power of Odin, he's more powerful. When she goes binary, she's more. It's comic books. Like they're both OP. Yeah, I
in
mean
the same
it
realm.
wasn't something that they needed to talk about or fight. It was stupid. I'm honestly disappointed in both of them for even like taking the bait from that.
troll question.
Yeah, it's Entertainment Tonight. That's what y'all don't watch Entertainment Tonight interviews. You've been interviewed by him before. He always baits everybody. I can't believe they took it, and it just looked so weird. I'm like, man, come on, y'all.
And that interviewer is the only one that won.
He's the only one that won.
Yeah,
like,
we all lost.
Yeah,
but so
Especially
that
Don
takes
Cheadle.
us. That takes us to the ending credit scene of Captain Marvel, where the pager goes off, and they're like, I wonder what happened. And she fucking shows up. She's like, "What did you do?
Yeah.
Where's Fury?
What did you do? What do I have to fix?"
Right. People started disappearing in front of me. Then I get a page from Nick, and when I show up, Nick's not here. What did you guys break?
Right.
Yeah.
She's gonna fucking come up here, clean up everybody's mess.
Yeah,
whoop some ass.
Can't wait to see what happens.
So it's gonna be a thing. I'm so excited. By the time you're listening to this, it is Endgame week.
Yeah.
It's Endgame week.
Endgame week.
I'm so excited I could cry and vomit and just die.
We are in the golden age of content, and we're in the middle of a fucking Game of Thrones season. The finale. Another 10 years of content build-up. So we've been doing a podcast on our Patreon. Patreon.com/videogamebang, where you could get our thoughts and reviews on all of the Bang of Thrones stuff. And it's $1. All you need is $1, and you get access to all the episodes as they come out. We have one that we did that was a lot like this episode, where we just broke down where everybody was, kind of learn about our fandom. And then we get into the nitty gritty on episode 1, which there was so much to unpack, even though people are saying it was a slow episode. If it was slow, it's because you're slow. All right. That's what I want you to tell your friend, your dumb friend that says that, and then show them our podcast. Say, these guys called you slow. Pay them $1. Listen to this hour and a half. This was a unit.
It was a long one.
Yeah, I had to edit that bad boy.
There's a lot of tea.
Yeah, there's a lot of tea.
I hate both of you.
Spilling that tea.
No. We're all too old for this.
Well, I mean, the three of us definitely are. You, unfortunately.
Even I am.
All right, everybody, that is our show. Thank you guys so much for listening and checking us out. Make sure to hit up iTunes, Google Play, wherever you may find podcasts, and give us a 5-star review. You can also check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/videogame_bang. Make sure to check out the live streams so you can see the animation of our faces and how Emma left me hanging twice out of 3 times to give me a high five during the show. Yes. And you can see her hit me
I got
in the
a
head.
high five from Emma on Good Day. Good Day, Sacramento. I think it was because she was flustered with the lights and maybe the moment
No,
got
it's
to
because
her.
I thought you were trying to high five Webb, and he didn't notice, and I was like, I'm not gonna leave him hanging on live TV.
You did that for me?
I was like, this is gonna be real awkward.
What a freaking hero.
I didn't want to be associated with that kind of awkward.
You know, if you would have left it, it would have been a meme. It could have been a meme moment.
You were almost a meme, Corey.
Yeah,
You were this close to becoming a meme.
I was.
His lifelong dream. I kept him from that. That's the real reason.
Yeah,
That's
it
the real
was.
I was
story
gonna say
there.
she just got confused. The lights were bright. She saw a beard. She thought it was me, so she gave a high five. Emma, no idea what your stream schedule is like.
Not a fucking clue.
Not a fucking clue. All right, Curtis.
Once I stop having
Dying?
some sort of
Alright.
death coming over me, I'm gonna definitely because it's in game, so I'm about to be reading tons of comics on my stream, so y'all come through and check me out. I'm about to get real nerdy on some Infinity stuff. So if y'all want to nerd
Curtis
out,
getting nerdy?
Curtis got to know, right? Like, when does he ever? But
I'm shocked. I
know-
am shocked.
I'm
Hey.
shooketh.
Hey,
No.
I'm blowing minds over here with my nerdiness. But no, come check me out. I'm gonna be reading some more comics, some Infinity stuff. It won't be spoilery because they already said in Endgame they're not following any comic book storylines. They had to create an original story.
Yeah.
So it's special. So come check me out.
Corey, Bachelor is still not on, so you are not streaming.
No, I'm
But
not.
you have a shock event coming up on May 5th at Berkeley, right?
Yeah, Cinco de
Yes,
Mayo. There's going to be
Cinco
a
de
huge
Mayo.
event. If any Bay Area listeners, if you like Overwatch, it's going to be the biggest party that we've put on yet. It's super ambitious. A couple thousand people, I think, crashing this place with free pizza and like cosplay and all that
Cosplay.
crazy stuff. So
May the 4th at Oblivion Comics Coffee, we are hosting our second trivia night. So go ahead and find them on Facebook. Sign up for that on the Facebook event. And that is the show. So for Emmaskies, Curtis Fisher, Corey Vincent, I'm the Road David Webb saying, see you next time.